Join UNITEDWESTRIKE.com radio on the second Saturday of every month for our live international radio marathon. Don't buy, don't comply, ask why.
Thank you so much. Merci beaucoup. As you can tell, I do as I'm told, and I thought I had to stand up at the time when my immediate predecessor would sit down, and clearly I failed. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for having me with you. I would like to thank the National Press Club, and especially President Angela Grilling-Keane, for not only inviting me to this prestigious venue, but essentially presenting the outline of what I want to talk to you about now. So it's as if we had prepared that together, which we have not. Now, let me first of all, of course, begin by wishing you all a Happy New Year. I guess it's still time to do that, given that we are just exactly halfway through between our Western New Year and the Lunar New Year, which will loom in a few weeks' time. I think it's also appropriate to wish ourselves a Happy New Year, given what I would like to talk to you about, which has to do with the global economy and what we should expect for 2014. Now, I'm going to test you numerology skills by asking you to think about the magic 7. Okay? Most of you will know that 7 is quite a number in all sorts of themes, religions, and I'm sure that you can compress numbers as well. If we think about 2014, all right, I'm just giving you 2014, you drop the 0, 14, 2 times 7. Okay, that's just by way of example, and we're going to carry on. So, if we think about 2014, all right, I'm just giving you 2014, you drop the 0, 14, 2 times 7. Okay, that's just by way of example, and we're going to carry on. So 2014 will be a milestone and hopefully a magic year in many respects. It will mark the 100th anniversary of the First World War back in 1914. It will mark the 70th anniversary, drop the 0, 7, of the Bretton Woods Conference that actually gave birth to the IMF. And it will be the 25th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. 25th. Okay. It will also mark the 7th anniversary of the financial market jitters that quickly turned into the greatest global economic calamity since the Great Depression. The crisis still lingers. Yet, optimism is in the air. We've left the deep freeze behind us, and the horizon looks just a bit brighter. So my hope and my wish for 2014 is that after those 7 miserable years, weak and fragile, we have 7 strong years. Now, I don't know whether the G7 will have anything to do with it, or whether it will be the G20. I certainly hope that the IMF will have something to do with it. Now, I don't know whether the G7 will have anything to do with it, or whether it will be the G20. I certainly hope that the IMF will have something to do with it.
This is United We Strike Radio on the International Community Radio Network. Don't buy, don't comply, ask why. UNITEDWESTRIKE.com radio.
Yeah, this is Detlev again here from United We Strike Radio Marathon. Detlev of Wake News Radio, Wake News TV. We had this clip played in with a couple of notes from Christine Lagarde from her occult speech, which we held beginning of the year, after New Year, in the press club of Washington, D.C., in front of the National Press Association audience. So the audience certainly were sort of, involved in all the occult meanings of the numbers, or at least they understood what she meant, most probably. And but this speech was held from the public. Nobody really listens to all these informations, only a few. So people are, looking for the speech and analyze it, and had a video made, and I exempted this from there, only the parts which were talking about the occult numbers, occult number 7. So we compiled this here, and for you as audience to listen to what she was saying, and we should always be a little warned about things which are being discussed or talked about by those figures, because nothing is just coincidental. It just has a meaning all the time. And she was also talking about the moon and so forth. So we all know that it's a bunch of people who are using occult knowledge against us. And I'm glad I'm now here in my English-speaking part, the European Roundtable, as we call it, and I've got a guest here with me, a guest who has already joined me in the first couple of hours in German. And this is Michael, and Michael is a human like you and I. And he's traveled the world, and he's one of those who's interested in what basically is holding the world in its system which holds it together, and he's also a philosopher, and he's a free man, and a free thinker, and I thought he could join us here in discussing the matter, not only from a material point of view but also from a spiritual point of view. So let's see whether Michael is is available. Michael, are you there?
Yes, hello, Detlev. Well, I like to welcome everybody that is now trying to find out what's going on in this world, and we're all in this game together. We're all trying to find out what's going on and try to do our best for the good, and in that sense, we're here together and, try to do our job.
Right, the job we are feeling. It's not only a job where we get money for this, because we don't get any money for this. We are not reimbursed in material values, but rather hopefully in spiritual values.
Right. Well, it's more like an inner quest that we have to undertake. It's our inner quest. Because Alan earlier, I overheard Alan talking, he said the Blindenberg group. And I think that's a good Freudian lapse of tongue, because he said the Blindenberg, and blind means in German blind, and maybe that's what's going to happen, because if all of us wake up, and we have that force, and I pointed out in a German-speaking part earlier that we have all the force to wake up and to take our share, and then all these dark brothers will turn blind, because that would be a good Freudian slip if that would later take place. Now,
yeah,
overall,
very true. Yeah, very true. And you explained this also in German. You may come back to that, with the church, with this image in the church, and this was a very good example. So continue, please.
Anyhow, I was talking earlier that, in our everyday life, how do we find the connection to all this, what's going on around us, what is life? So I took an example of my own personal biography, because I grew up and I observed this today's world, and I always found a disharmony if how I envisioned it should be and the way it was. So I thought, what is the reason? How come I don't feel in harmony with all that, what surrounds us, in harmony with our, people that surround us, the structures that surround us, school, for example. I was suffering terribly going to school, and I thought, well, maybe there is an answer to that questions that we have, to that quest of life, or to that individual, intimate quest of life that we have. And I tried to make a connection there, but I could not find it. So I was like starving in a way. I was starving, like these dark people want to make us starve of that inner quest connection that we had. And so I find out, what is the structure? Why is there hunger in this world? Why are there people making and creating wars? and what is the reason for all this. So I was searching around in religion and in the occult structures of religion, and I was going to India, and I found the Mahabharata of India. I was, getting into the anthroposophy of Rudolf Steiner, and all this was a little bit helping me to understand the things. And in order to understand what's going on in the material plane, there is no way around that the higher planes of the higher worlds, the transcendental spheres. So there is no way that we can ignore the transcendental part of it, because if we only look on the material plane, we never find the true reasons, and we get distracted. So it's like through all the cultures, like especially in America, which I want to point out, Emerson, Thoreau, and Whitman, because these three people represent the spiritual part of America, which is part of another America, which Carl Stegman, he wrote a book. It's called The Other America, where he explained that difficult position that America is stuck today, because especially the America, I mean the military industrial complex and those forces behind it, they represent a stream of which was represented 2,000 years back, parallel to the mystery of Golgotha, to the mysterium of the Christ. It was a god or a king called Toatl, and he was a part of the dark side. And his counterpart, Huitzilopochtli, he was then taking victory over this Toatl, and that's why I still see hope also for America. So in that old school of mystery, which took place 2,000 years back, then this other America, which I mentioned three authors like Whitman, Thoreau, and Emerson, they created a spiritual stream of America, which I think I have good hope that eventually that part of America would come out, and not that dark side, which we all know.
Yes, we will be praying for that, certainly, and sending all our good vibrations all over there.
Yeah, but another thing is that dark side, we have to mention it, and don't get me wrong, because when I mention the dark side, we should have a balance. We should know how this dark side operates, but we should not get ourselves involved in this negative sort of like vibrations which pull us down. That is not the point of it. The point of it is that we know how it works, but we have a good chance and we have good hope that we succeed, while everybody is creating that how shall I say, the spirit what was there in the early Christianity, that we had the culture of empathy and love and understanding for our fellow human beings around us, and that we know we have to strive for cosmic consciousness, which is like a band that stretches through the whole path of evolution from the very past of our creation till throughout this present days into the future. And that band or that stretch of identity which we can have, not only that small stretch in one incarnation that is from 0 to 80 or however old as we get, but it stretches out much further, so that we can create this, that we can establish and conquer basically that consciousness. It is not for free. We have to engage ourselves, and that we can through that knowledge understand that it is very important that consciously we partake in this creation, not like these dark brotherhoods and these dark people and Illuminati or whatever you want to call them. They want to abduct us from our cosmic quest, from our cosmic purpose. So when we attain, again, access towards that band and that of responsibility that what we have, and that we are an important part, not just a piece of dust in the universe, and that really counts. Each human life counts. Each human bright thought is counting. Each purified soul gesture, each purified soul way that counts, each pure deed, what we can attain and what we are accomplishing is counting to change the work world of this world. The work world, I mean, that is the way the structures of our world, how they change. The paradigms of the world will change. And so we all can partake in a changing of the paradigms of this world through our active participation. And we need active participation because otherwise we are led astray and we become sort of sleepers of death when we don't wake up. And your name of your news is program, I think, and that's why I a little bit mentioned this part of it.
Yeah, wouldn't this be a sort of, getting out of the being a consumer to, again, being a human? Because that's, the whole world has changed into corporatism and, all governments, all nations are corporate entities and we are just consumers. So we have to get back to our basic human being-ship, right?
Right. And the thing is, when we are sort of subject towards materialism, we are trapped in our materialistic way and outlook of the way we look at the world, which I find very, very sad that we are in this trap. So that's the first trap we have to get out of it, a trap of materialism, so that we have to establish through the path of meditation, which takes the basic material. Some people wonder, what is meditation? That is some odd thing they have no access, they think, but it is very simple. You take the basic materials of meditation is your thought life, your feelings, and your willpower. And all these dark brotherhoods, what they want is to abduct these three forces and put a foreign will to octroyate a foreign will on these things, to depurify it. And we have to now again purify these three things and school it and concentrate it. So what is meditation? It is concentrated thought life, concentrated feeling life, and concentrated action. So that is the short and brief definition of meditation. It's not complete, but it's a partial definition of it. So all that negative forces now in today's world, we talked earlier in the German program, is that these negative forces are trying to throw out dirt on us and put defamation on us. They want to defame us. They want to put slander, and they want to put us in a dark side. So what I have to say to this is that it's the same story what happened in earlier times with the heretics in the Middle Ages. So they don't want to listen what the truth is behind our message. They want to say, don't listen to that fellow. Don't even evaluate what he's saying. Simply put him in the bad box and don't even listen what he has to say. And that is that meme that they want to put us in us, that they say we are heretics. So they don't want to get the message that they want to stop us from getting our message out. And that's why it's very important that we speak up and we get the message out that everybody is important. And that is the biggest message of today, I would say. Everybody's feeling it counts, and it is accounted for as well, on the other hand. So on the negative side, it is accounted for all their actions that they're doing, all their negative thoughts that they have, or their elitist negative thoughts, and and world outlook that they want to put out, and world formation plans that they have of the new world order, that will also be, they will be held accountable one day. And their negative plan is to create a new parallel universe. It's called in the occult the eighth sphere, that all these negative forces want to snatch our forces and create a parallel universe where there is no more individual freedom. We become machine-like beings. That is their goal. Without an individuality, simply we operate like machines. And when I look at this kind of possible future, I think it is much better that everybody should, out through an act of free will, engage, form a harmony and a group with other people that are like-minded, and join together and try to fight. And I think we have a good chance to fight these negative influences in order to succeed. And we all have to sort of, like it was in the old Egyptian mysteries, in their meditative program, and they all had meditative programs, such as also the disciples of the Christ. He was giving them meditation lessons. But also in the old Egyptian times, there was a priest, a high priest, which at the same time was a pharaoh, and his name was Ptahhotep. And he was a teacher that, to his importance was that you have to generate and ignite your own inner sun. And that means that you have to have that force of love which you create from your heart. You ignite that from the center of your heart. That you are very much empathetic to your fellow human beings. You are striving for wisdom, and that you generate as a common band to your fellow human beings.
Yes, I think this is very impressive. I mean, you know, those things are going back thousands of years, and basically we also come to the conclusion, I guess, that you cannot have the good or the light without the dark and the bad. Is that sort of true?
Yeah, that plays a very important role, because for the development of our own inner freedom, we need all these negative forces. But we have to circum these forces, and in order to metamorphose them into the good. That is our purpose. And if we are doing our homework properly, I think we can achieve it. But it's not for free. We have to engage ourselves, because if you let it all run, and then it will be running down the drain, and it will be disastrous, basically. So we have to engage ourselves. But I think a lot of people today, they're really engaging themselves, and they know it is a struggle, and we have to join. That is very important. You know, the spirit of community, that we're there together, like in early Christianity I mentioned earlier, because they had that spirit of togetherness, that spirit of love, that the female qualities which are lacking in our today's society, because we all have qualities which is greediness. The whole financial system is based on greediness, on greed. So we're like schoolboys of evil, which it has a negative impacts and aftermaths on our soul life because of the paradigms of today's system. So,
yeah. Well, actually, so basically what you're saying, I mean, everything which we are experiencing, most people just don't look behind the curtain, don't see the transcendental background or the things behind the curtains, if you want to. They just look at what they see and what they, experience in terms of material harm, which they are, receiving by, losing their homes and losing their income and what have you. But they are not looking at the transcendental background or the, the spiritual part of it. But this is so important, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's much more than losing our home or our money or whatever. It's material existence, what we have. We lose our humanness. And that is what it is at stake, the humanness that we might lose if we're not attentive.
Yeah, and most people just don't get this. I mean, how important this struggle or this fight currently is. And
they're trying to do their best. They're trying to do their best to win the game. But lately, things don't work out according the way they like it to be, because a lot of people wake up. They join and connect themselves through internet and through other means, and through a means of meditation as well. That's something in the background which also happens on the higher level, so to speak. So that's something which they didn't reckon,
Yeah, so wasn't it Brzezinski a few years ago who was giving a speech and saying, well, there's a huge political awakening of humankind, and he was warning his fellow Illuminati friends of this thing to happen. So they are afraid of us, aren't they?
Yeah, because the spiritual world is also helping us, but we need to stretch out the hand, because the spiritual world, nothing works with coercion as the negative forces. They work with coercion and covered means. And in the spiritual world, everything happens out in the open. You're asked, do you like to do this? Are you in accordance with what this plan is? Do you want to join it? And it's an open, free decision. Yes, I want to do this. I find it is a good thing. I want to engage myself into it. So that is the difference between the mechanism, and there is an infrastructure and the mechanism of the evil, as well as there is one of the good. So we have to know and differentiate between the two, how they operate and how they work. So I think, as I said, when we have this spirit of community, and that we also in our daily life, we fight in our inner soul alchemy that negative forces, which of course everybody is prone to. So that in our everyday life, we have to fight the evil temptations which come through us, not only through the outside, which they're there, and we talked about these outside evil programs which are on, but also another program is that inside evil, which we have to fight, and we have to check and balance within our own soul alchemy, which sort of, I would say, voices we have to follow and which we have to discard.
So it is not solely a religious issue. I mean, no religion could actually say it's only us who is, who knows the truth or who knows the way to get to this point. Is it, or is it a religious issue?
Well, I mean, it's then difficult we have to define what is religion. When I talk about religion, I mean the higher, the esoteric, the transcendental part of religion. And there, with all developed religions, whether it is in Hinduism or whether it is in Buddhism, or also in Judaism or in Christianity or in the Muslim religion, it is that they know that every human being is counting for, and it is an alchemic process of transformation what has to take place in order to that, like in a spiral, that we develop our consciousness in an upward drift. But there is a fight going on over our consciousness, and that is actually the battlefield. The battlefield is our consciousness. Like in Kalakshetra, in that Indian Mahabharata, there is this fight of Kalakshetra, and it's posed as an outside fight where all he has to fight against his brothers and relatives. But our brothers and relatives, that his brothers and his relatives, that is allegorically to be interpreted, that this battle takes part in our own inner soul life. And so that if we fight that inner battle, which is also a battle which today we have to take a look at, that also will help us to transform ourselves from an inner point of view, as well as give us then strength to fight those outer negative and hostile impulses which we're bombarded today.
What's your point of view? What will be the overall objective of this transformation of us? Shall we be back in the origin? Shall we become closer to God? Shall we? What is the purpose of this fight, this struggle? What's your opinion?
The good cosmic forces have one purpose for us, because we have to be, we can be their helpers to run this universe in a positive sense. That is basically, there is a hierarchical system of upward spiral movement and development, because what is now stone can become plant. What is now plant can become animal. What is now animal can become human being. What is now human being can become angel. What is angel can become higher angel. And so there is a gradual upwards movement towards God, so to speak.
So the final purpose is to get back to the origin, or to become all one.
Yes.
Should be that's maybe the best expression, or?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the final goal.
Yeah. So, and once everybody would realize this, and this is, I guess, part of many old societies, maybe also in India, that once you know that that there's a spiral, and that you are within this spiral of development, and you have achieved a certain, phase, then you would be willing to work on the progression yourself. I mean, this is, people just don't know. They are disconnected from this knowledge or from this structure. Is that could one say that?
Yeah, of course. That is their negative plan, what they all try to do through materialism. Because in earlier times, people were connected to the spiritual part of the spiritual beings. They could see them. Even the old Greek people could see the spirit that live in the plants, the spirit that lives in the animal. And also the angels and some other spiritual beings, they could still see, not with their eyes, but with other organs, which in the Indian religion you call the chakras. They could see that and perceive, but that was part of the great plan of the Kali Yuga, and the Kali Yuga is the dark age. There was the golden age where everybody was still clairvoyant. They could see up to the God. They could see it was a fact. Like you look out the window, you see a tree. You don't question that there is a tree there, because everybody can see the tree. So you didn't question about God, about the spiritual being, about all these, the spiritual cosmic variety of beings which are there. You could see them. So what you see, you don't question. But we were not free. And the positive aspect of all these evil temptation is that we became free to individually think, to judge. The power of judgment, of individual judgment, that is what we gained through, that is a positive gain of all that evil assaults, that we positively change towards the good.
But there is a limit, certainly certain dark forces or humans which are dedicated to the dark side. Will they ever have a chance to develop in this spiral, or will there be a sort of hell where they will always stay and will never develop? Could one say that? I mean, this is part of religion, religious philosophy as well. But
Well,
difficult. Well, yeah, but this is such an interesting topic, isn't it? For everybody who's listening.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of the free choice. I mean, how these people that give in, I mean, for instance, like a black magician, he gives in his free will towards the evil. He says, take over my will. My will is yours. And if somebody makes that kind of a decision, it's very difficult to get his sovereign free will back. It is not impossible, but it's a great act of transformation which he has to undergo. And I would recommend to read Goethe's Faust, because there you can a little bit understand the nature of what's going on if somebody goes on that kind of a path.
Yeah, I mean, Goethe was a Freemason himself, and he was, he had inside knowledge, right? Also on the dark side. And you can experience this. I mean, just look at several famous people in the entertainment business or Hollywood or so forth. They even talk in interviews that they have made a deal with evil in order to be successful in the material life, if you remember.
Yeah. But I think it was an act of free choice, like for example, in the example of Faust, because Faust decided he wanted to go along that path. I think that happens in various hierarchies, and that Hollywood hierarchy, I think, they don't have the free choice to start with. They're conditioned through the time, through their life situation, so they don't have the overlook to really make a free choice. A lot of these magicians, they don't have that position to start with, so they're sort of dragged in and sucked in that kind of a vortex, which then, of course, it is not impossible to get out, but it's very difficult.
Yeah, true. I mean, I understand that, but it's still, I mean, it could happen to anybody of us, but it never occurred to me. So there are differences, sort of.
One thing you can be alert, and that is sort of like an inner quest. If something goes along, you should never do or never act in a way, in a manner that you do something lower at the cost of a higher principle. You should never have a gain in the lower sphere at cost of a higher sphere, of a higher energy of the higher entity. So whatever you do, you should be in harmony, that you do something for the good. And when you have gains in the lower spheres at the cost of the good, don't pay that price. That is something you have to ask yourself. Don't pay a price of the higher sphere to get gains in the lower sphere. And that is a principle of evil, because these people that make a decision, they always go for that. They say, oh, I want wealth. I want, all these worldly kind of gains.
And powers, of course. Yeah.
Exactly, the powers, and I sacrifice my higher aspirations and my higher self, so to speak. And that sacrifice you should not do, because it's a terrible one.
Yeah, and once you are familiar with the overall transcendental and God's knowledge, then you wouldn't even think of that, would you? I mean, that's why we are disconnected to everything like that. I mean, we are trying to regain this knowledge, and you've been traveling in the world in order to search for those answers. I mean, you've been experiencing this during your travels, and you've looked for that purposely, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, the battlefield is our human consciousness. That is just in between good and evil. We're sort of like not in hell, fortunately, but also we're not in heaven. We're just at the status quo of our today's development, and we are just so to speak in the middle between the two polarities. And the battlefield, the cross point, that is our consciousness. And we can change that. Consciousness has an impact on how the surrounding world, how the planet is being formed that we live on. So, in other words, we deserve the planet on which we live upon. That we have to also be, you have to realistically look at. Why is the evil there? Because we deserve it, in a way. So that is a point which keeps us alert, that we could have made a better show, so to speak, if we were been shaping up better, So that would be
understood. But if it's consciousness, then you naturally have to ask yourself, how do I become conscious? I mean, I think I have entered this for myself, but there may be other people who have not even discovered that this is a battle about consciousness. That's the one group, and the other one is asking himself, how do I become conscious? Is this a thing which is just happening, or is this something which you can work for, or is this something you can find out yourself, or how do we become conscious? Is this a question you could answer?
Well, I think that the cosmic good forces are constantly radiating that light wind, I call a wind of light, which tries to shake us and wake us up and to become, inquisitive of today's life and contemporary life and the situation that surrounds us. But we have to, as I said, share interest, and we have to, stretch out our hands or our wings, so to speak, in a soul level, that we can catch a little bit of that wind which comes towards us, because the spiritual world never lets us alone. And the Christ says he doesn't let us alone in this dark part of the Kali Yuga of the consciousness that we are now slowly moving out. So I think that we have a fair chance that we can proceed in a good manner out of this bad situation that we are in at present moment.
So everybody can become conscious, even those who are still operating in the dark side. Everybody can become conscious, right?
Yeah, even they, if they make a change, as I said before, we have to generate that light, and they have three choices. When we develop that light of consciousness, makes it for that negative forces, it's sort of like burns their behind, so to speak. So because they cannot stand it, the light of consciousness, of awareness, of wisdom, of love, it creates an unbearable atmosphere for such beings. They cannot stand it. It is like they start to dissolve. So if everybody is working on that path of transformation, automatically these forces will have a difficult time, and they are being transformed. And it's even good for them, because then they have a new incarnation on a higher level, on a higher plane, and they're reintegrated into the whole cosmic family of beings. So that's the overall program of even integrating the evil forces back into the system. So that is a big path of metamorphosis and change. Of course, that's the long run, a big long-term kind of a goal, which is we have to undergo a more daily step by step of that kind of program. But everybody of the ignorant people today, there is a mystery play of Steiner in his mystery dramas. These beings are addressed to the ignorant people, and one priest then says, well, they have to wait for another turn. They're not discarded, but they have to wait for another turn. So that explains maybe your question, that those are ignorant, those are not interested. They say, oh, what the hell, I lived a life, I live my egotistic life, I don't ask what's going on, I don't care about politics, I don't care about all these evil things, war, there was always war in history, and that belongs to human kind of development, and blah, blah, blah. those people, they will have a second chance. But as for now, they're not contributors towards a new positive development.
So that's basically summarizing this idea. We will not be able to reach everybody here, all humans in this world today. We only will achieve, or consciousness will only get to a few, or more than a few.
It depends on your perspective. When you think only about the life between birth and death, then that what you say is correct. But the spiritual beings don't think only in that limited perspective, life between birth and death, because they take into account your past incarnations, your previous incarnations, and looking at the previous incarnation which take place, and the future incarnations which take place, that in perspective of that future incarnations, those people will have their second chance to develop. And I think in the long run, every human being will have the chance to develop sooner or later. It's only a matter of sooner or later.
So basically, what we are experiencing is a huge washing machine, and not all fibers will be clean in the first run. So this is a continuous washing program.
Exactly, that's a very good example. I like it.
Yeah,
that's great.
To simplify things, to have it visualized.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if people would understand this, they would be more willing to, proceed faster through this process. But, on the other hand, we're always discussing this issue with time. Does time really exist, or is this just a limiting factor here for us in our matrix which we are living in today?
I think that, like Goethe says, time is an invention to create many lives. Because the whole process is much too complex to achieve all at once. So it's a stage. Time is a stage for our development.
Yeah, it's basically a limitation because I experience this with my camera, because it has a program built in to split a film into several parts, because there is no software available to, for instance, manufacture, a production out of 20 hours of film in one go. So they split it into different, slots. So that's a good
example. That's a very good example how that technically, it's all our inner development. It's like a computer part.
Yeah. I lost you now. I lost it. I lost my guest here, Michael.
So that has to be done through an act of will.
Yeah,
we have access to gods. We can see the gods, and basically that's all an act of our own participation. But we have to take care of the wiring.
So just Michael, just for your information, I lost you half a minute or so.
Are you there? I can also not hear you barely. Hold on. It's
it's a little tough here, the connection currently.
Yeah, but now I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's because you are on a mobile device talking to us, and so this is a certain limitation, possibly. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyways, this is a very interesting topic. We could go on for hours on that one, but. Coming back to the original topic, we were discussing basically also how to, I put it in words like we have to starve the beast, which basically means what can we do to prevent evil and the dark forces to proceed further, and how can we develop as light beings, or as beings of light and good. And we were discussing this, and obviously in our material world, we are experiencing also lots of harm. On all levels of our life, like the basic life, the financial, economic situations, the possibly occurring war, greater war, which is in the process. So, what can we also do in our daily lives, not even having achieved a certain consciousness, in order to stop the beast from turning us into dark beings as well?
Well, as I mentioned before, we have to fight our own inner beast, so to speak, through, spreading out love to our fellow human beings. Try to be less egotistic. Try to be gentle and full of love to the fellow beings, and strive for wisdom. Strive to understand how this cosmos everything works, and most and overall important, we have to go through a process of inner meditation or an inner path, or where we have access towards that higher knowledge in whatever ways we might do it. Some people might go through the meditation of the old Indian way. Somebody might look into the spiritual science of Rudolf Steiner. Some people might go into the Buddhistic teachings. Some people might go into Kabbalah of the Hebrew esoteric teachings. I think there is various paths, and all are equally valid. You cannot say one is better than the other. I think in the long run, they all join together. So that's a good recommendation, and that we really try to be softer to each other and integrate, that when we think of something, how we would do something, we integrate our people that are surrounding us, how would they do it, and give them a share in our planning, in our outlook, how we take care of things. And it's just that is just the opposite what these people are doing. Those negative, dark brothers, so to speak, those dark beings, those dark brotherhoods, they work with coercion and the covert activity, and they like to abduct us from our own cosmic quest, as I said before. And so when we integrate our fellow human beings, the whole universe, animals, when we integrate the plants, the whole planet is basically nothing but a big human being. And that we are that earth that we walk upon. That is nothing else but another aspect of ourself. And we initiated scholars of these people that did a training in spiritualism. They find out that they're nothing, that they're part of this earth. They are this earth, basically. And when you have that kind of perspective, you take care and you foster the earth, and you change in your outlook and your everyday's actions, slowly and bit by bit. And that is already the thing you can partake. And when you are on that path, I think nothing can go wrong.
Yeah, it is incredible how the powers to be are treating our world, Earth. Looking at all the terrible things they are doing to the environment. The plundering of the resources of the planet and so forth. I mean, this is they are basically destroying our basic abilities here to live on this earth if we let them continue, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is.
Summarize,
Michael, before you continue, we will be having a break now. A musical break, and we will be back right after that. And if you've still got time, and we discussed this early on, for the next half hour, then we can sort of also summarize what we've been talking about and put in some new issues as well, if you like to.
Sure.
So please stay tuned. We will be, listening to a German speaking song, which is also a pretty good one. And this is called Angstfrei. Angst is also an expression which is known In English, angst-free, so to say, no fear. And we were listening here to Angstfrei from Didi Schneider from Hamburg, actually, Germany. And after that we'll be right back. We're in the UNITEDWESTRIKE Radio Marathon, July 12th, 2014, and we will be continuing right after that. So stay tuned.
Join UNITEDWESTRIKE.com radio on the second Saturday of every month for our live international radio marathon. Don't buy, don't comply, ask why. You're listening to the International Community Radio Network.
Yeah, this is Detlev here. Wake News Radio, Wake News TV here on our United Strike Radio Marathon. We are in the English part of our broadcast, which will be going on around the world. And I'm producing here out of Switzerland. And I started today's show with my 2 hours in German. And now we are, in another part here, summarizing what we have been discussing in the last hour with my guest, Michael. And Michael has a few things he wanted to present to us, and let's see whether he's here. Michael, are you back again?
Yes, I'm here, and I thought it's very interesting for our listeners when I recite the Foundation Stone Meditation by Rudolf Steiner, because what all the topics that we have been talking before, I think it comes out in a very touching way and in a very much direct way, and I thought it's worthwhile to share these with our listeners.
Sure. Yes,
so
go ahead.
I start reciting that Foundation Stone Meditation by Rudolf Steiner.
Okay, go ahead.
Soul of man, you live in the limbs that carry you through the world of space, into the sea of spirit being. Practice spirit remembrance in a depth of soul, where in the reigning cosmic creator being, your own I in God's eye is begotten. And you will truly live in the cosmic human being. For the Father Spirit of the height reigns, creating being in the cosmic depths. Seraphim, cherubim, thrones. Let's resound from the cosmic heights. What in its depths in its echo finds. This speaks ex Deo nascimur. The elemental spirits in east, west, north, south hear this. May man hear it too. Soul of man, you live in the heart-lung beat that guides you through the rhythm of times, to the sensing of your own soul being. Practice spirit contemplation in equanimity of soul, where the surging cosmic creative deeds unite your own eye to the cosmic eye, and that you will truly feel in deeds of the human soul. For the will of Christ reigns in the early spheres, granting grace to souls in cosmic rhythms, Kriotitis, Dynamis, Exousiae. Let from the east inflame what through the west takes form. This speaks in Christo morimur. The elemental spirits in east, west, north, south hear this. May man hear it too. Soul of man, you live in the reposing head, which opens cosmic thoughts from eternal fonts to you. Practice spirit seeing in peace of mind, where the eternal goals of the gods confer the cosmic being's light on your own eye. For its free will, and you will truly think from fonts of human spirit. For the cosmic thoughts of spirit, light imploring, reigns in cosmic being, archai, archangeloi, angeloi, and from the depths demand what be heard in the heights. This speaks per spiritum sanctum revivissimus. the elemental spirits in the east, west, north, south, hear this. May man hear it too. At the turning point of time, the cosmic spirit light stepped into the early evolution. Night darkness has ended its reign. The bright light of day streamed into human souls, light that warms the poor shepherd's hearts, light that enlightens the wise king's heads. Light divine, Son of Christ, warm our heads, enlighten our heads, warm our hearts, enlighten our heads, so that good will be what we from our hearts beget. What we thought our heads will to achieve. Ja, das war also that was the foundation stone of Rudolf Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this summarizes a bit what we talked before. And maybe you have a question, Detlev, that that which connects back to our thought previously.
Yes, I mean, it is always important, and this is basically the outcome of what we've been discussing, that people shouldn't just look at the material level, which we're all experiencing, obviously, every day in our everyday life. For instance, you have to go shopping to get something to eat, right? It just doesn't just flow into your mouth. So there are things which we have to do also on the material level. But the most important thing is that we have to regain our connection to the transcendental level as well, so to our spiritual level. And what you've just read here were the ideas of Rudolf Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we've been discussing this sort of, and we also want to offer to our listeners or to people who are interested in this topic to give a chance to have access to how can I do it, sort of also a practical advice. Because not everybody is able and capable in reading difficult texts and philosophical books and doesn't have the time to study what you've done, for instance, in your life. But they want to have a sort of an applicable solution for what they can do. So that is sort of the purpose also of my part of the show to offer some solutions easy to adapt, because we all want to have a result as well, and we want to help the development of us in terms of achieving consciousness or developing our consciousness. So you also had a few ideas of more ideas here in the break. Of things you were discussing early on in the German-speaking part, which you want to bring in this last 20 sort of minutes we have left.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I wanted to mention one part that I think for everybody that is sort of like superficially going over what we just said is the fact that I think everybody can understand that we should not follow an agenda of an elite, which follows and only their selfishness, so to speak, and their own advantage. So, because we have a common human destiny, and everybody should be responsible to fulfill that kind of human destiny. And not only the destiny of an elite, which has evil intentions or selfish intentions. And so therefore everybody would understand that the whole mankind has a common quest which they should fulfill. And because there is no place, because they won't respect you, they won't treat you as human beings, they only want to make you slave. It's a system of subordinates. It's and I don't think you can identify with such a role. It's indignifying for us all, and that's why I call that elitist. I call them traitors of humankind, because basically what they try to do is collectively sell our souls to the evil. That is their goal. And they want to make a waste planet. That is their goal. Out of this earth, they want to make a big desert, big waste planet. And when you look and love this world, the way it is, the beauty of its plants, the beauty of the animals, the beauty of our different human individuals that it bears, the beauty of the wind, the water, and now you think about the moon, as you can compare it with the moon, and I think nobody likes the fate of to become this earth, that this earth becomes a second moon.
Yeah, or another deserted planet, which, people have discovered ruins on Mars and so forth. So maybe, there was a population or culture once there, which they destroyed because they had ancestors as well. True?
Yeah, that's a very complicated issue. There also, Steiner mentions what happened with Mars and the Buddha and all kinds of things. That the Buddha was sort of like he played a similar role what the Christ played on this earth, on the Mysterium of Golgotha. Same thing the Buddha did on the planet of Mars to their Martian spiritual beings, which are there now. So we know all the history of Mars. It's all its aggressive nature of those beings there, and he was sort of helping them to overcome this kind of nature. But that goes too far now into details. And,
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Maybe you have another question, Detlev?
Well, what we are trying to do is also to give advice how to deal with the issues currently. And we were discussing this also in the first couple of hours in German. What can we do? You also have your thoughts and ideas about what's happening over here in Europe on the Monday demonstrations or peace demonstrations which are taking place over here in Europe in some countries, especially in the German-speaking countries. Now that is a way to express, the will of the people or the will of a human. Not to be at war, and this is a very peaceful way of doing it. Now, would this be sort of the right thing to do? I mean, there have been demonstrations going on, but usually those are being attacked by the powers to be because they don't want people to awaken to, join forces and, do this peacefully. They always bring in some destruction forces or whatever. I mean, like they are inciting terror and so forth. I mean, with false flags. So, what is the best way to do it for everybody? I mean, to do it individually is one thing, which is very important, or the basic. But, how can people collectively do something in terms of, developing this consciousness and this will to get back to the roots?
Well, like when you look in the past, I think even in old Egypt, everybody knows that there was a path of initiation. There were the mystery schools. In old India, that with the 5 rishis, that's 7 rishis, that there are mystery schools, and everybody that felt inclined with an alchemy in his soul to questions the things that surround him, they were always compelled to such centers. And I think in today's world where materialism is hovering over you like a black straitjacket, so to speak, over you and trying to block you, the masses of people from their spiritual connection, it's important to make a bit noise that there is another alternative path, as the other path which is, and the structures which are prescribed or even octroyated on us by the matrix of the system. And so therefore I find it's a very much big and healthy awakening impulse on those Monday demonstrations that take place, and they should spread out in the rest of Europe, the English-speaking world, in the Italian or French and French and Spanish, and into the whole rest of the world, so to speak, and even into Asia, so that people have the chance to pick what is really according to the nature of their souls, because now they don't have the free choice. They're all being put in a straitjacket, so to speak. So we have to take away that straitjacket and find out for the people, there are alternative ways. There is another way of taking care of a problem. There is another outlook upon the solution of a problem. There is another outlook how we can handle or tackle this and that situation. So I think it should be spreading out as a first point of contact for such people that felt alone. And many of these, when I observe some of these youngsters that are talking on the Monday demonstrations, they felt alone. They felt left alone. They felt they cannot communicate. And now is an opening portal, says, hey, somebody's there. Somebody listens to you. And there is people that think likewise. Let's join. And that's what they're afraid. And that's why all this defamation comes about. That's slandering of the intentions of the Monday demonstrations. Of course, it is an anti-elitist movement. And of course, they try to put all kind of false tags on you, like anti-Semitism, because that's very efficiently working, and that's out of the times of the heretics, which they take the same kind of structures which the heretics used at that time to defame and put you in a bad spot.
Yeah, just because you're saying that the Federal Reserve Bank is not a national bank, not a sovereign state bank, but a private bank. Only for that. And it's owned by families who are of Jewish belief, or at least they're claiming this.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. It's solely out Jewish. I think there's other people of other religions involved as well. And the thing is, what people should note is that one doesn't criticize the religion of anybody, but only criticize the action of their doings, whether it is good or evil. And that everybody has the right to criticize, whether they're Jewish or a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim, when their actions of their deeds are unethical actions. And that is actually a thing you criticize, is their unethical conduct, their unethical mind, and their unethical state of soul. And that's what you question, and that's what you criticize. So that's why they should say we're not anti-Semitic, of course, which is clear, that is only a false tag put upon them, but they should say, yes, we are anti-elitist. That is more important than that. So an anti-elitist is definitely not an anti-Semite, because it is stupid to criticize somebody for its religion. It is also stupid to criticize somebody for its consciousness, because that is in a constant flow. Pantarai, it's something always growing. You cannot criticize somebody because somebody doesn't understand this. You have to help him, to understand.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think those are wise words, and hopefully many people will listen to this. And Well, just looking at the watch here, at the clock, and I'm seeing that we are, getting to the next break. Now, what would you say? What is important for the listeners? What can they do? How could they get some more information if they want to look into things deeper? Maybe you can reveal a few of your sources where you got your message from or your knowledge from.
Well, I mean, those who really actively want to participate, I think for them it's unavoidable to go on the spiritual path, and that they have to decide for their own which way they want to choose, whether they like to go more in an Indian way, in Indian philosophy, which is, I think everybody should know the Indian philosophy, the Persian philosophy, the Egyptian philosophy, and the mystics of the Middle Ages. I cannot give all the books because otherwise we're here for the next hours if I give you all the names and the titles of the books. But they should all look into the developments of the old cultures. And one thing I wanted to mention is the works of Rudolf Steiner, because that is something which is a very scientifically, it's called spiritual science, and it's a very scientific approach of this subject, so to speak. And everybody can follow with their own, basically with their minds, without having too much of a transcendental connection. He can understand simply by the common sense how this cosmos is structured. So I would say that's a good start to read the 4 basic works of Steiner: the attainment of higher knowledge, of the higher worlds, occult science, and the theosophy. And of course, they should study the Bible, and not only the Bible, but also the parts which have not been published, the apocryphs, and the other parts which were taken out by the Catholic correctores. And they should study the Mahabharata, the Indian philosophies, old Egyptian kind of teachers like those of Padahotep, and of course the Persian, the Zarathustrian religion and Buddhism. That's what I would recommend.
Well, but that's years of knowledge and years of study. But you should also listen to your heart, which is very important, and try to live love, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we are at the end of our section here. I thank you very much, Michael.
One thing I forgot is the Kabbalistic knowledge, which is also very important. Yeah. That is a very positive heritage of the Jewish higher parts of the esoteric part of their religion, which is very important. I think one should also integrate that part of it.
All right. So thanks a lot. We are in our Unite We Strike radio marathon. Thanks a lot, Michael. We are going into a break now, listening to our theme from Tommy Truther, Unite We Strike, and afterwards it's Karen's time. And we'll see you on top of the hour again. And this is Detlev, Awakenings Radio, Awakenings TV. See you. Bye-bye.